Hey guys, this is Kamen, and today I'm doing top 10 Kickstarters of the month. And before I jump into the list, I do have a couple of friends who have Kickstarters. I didn't want to be biased to add them into the top 10, but of course I do want to give a shout out. First of all, we actually have a Kickstarter going on in 2 weeks for our comic book podcast, Comic Book Weekly. We've been doing this podcast for 5+ years, and we want to do an audio version and get an editor and make it all professional. So we're doing a Kickstarter, and there's opportunities for you to recommend a comic, to be a sponsor for the podcast, to recommend graphic novels. And we have a lot of great goodies there, so we hope you can follow the page. That's going to be up in about 2 weeks. Now, another Kickstarter going on in 5 days is Jason Inman's Kickstarter. It is called Super Best Friends. If you're a fan of Jupiter Jet, same creative team. You know, Jason's done so much for the comic book community. He's been a comic book YouTuber, he's worked for DC Comics, and he's a really talented writer, so definitely go check this one out. I am super excited to back this up, and I wish it actually was premiering while I was doing this video, but I wanted to at least give it a shout out so you could be notified when that Kickstarter does launch. Now, getting into some Kickstarters that have launched from friends, we have Chat and Draw. This is from Michael Watson from Short Fuse Media and Freestyle Comics. And this is a really unique one because Michael's been doing a podcast / Facebook video series called Chat and Draw. So he talks to other indie creators and he draws their characters while he interviews them. So it's a really unique format, and he's trying to collect this all into one book. So definitely go check this one out. I've actually been on the podcast as well, and he's drawn Casey, and hopefully I'll be on there again one of these days. So go check out that Kickstarter. Now, moving on to the last suggestion until I get to the top 10, and that is Electric Youth issues 1 through 2, and this is from my friends Kyle and Clay. And also, I'm just really impressed by the premise of this book. It's about bad kids being replaced by robots, and it's actually also taking place in 1989. And I just feel like there's a lot of societal things that you could talk about here. What is good, what is bad, and also technology kind of taking over our world. So very excited about reading this book, and I definitely think you guys should go check it out. Now, going into the top 10. So my number 10 for this month is Endless Moons, and this one is a bounty hunter book, kind of clear and simple. It's a female bounty hunter. Of course, she has a kind of dark past that she has to get through, and the artwork is kind of cartoony, which is cool because, you know, with bounty hunter book, I feel like usually it's a little bit more rustic, so this one kind of caught my eye. So that's number 10. Moving into number 9, which is Maari. Hopefully I pronounced that right. This is an LGBTQ book. It's kind of a murder mystery as well. So you have some mystery of who killed these witches, I guess I want to call them. And then also, this is taking place in Italy. It's an LGBTQ book, and I just feel like it's a premise, or not premise, but a setting that we don't really get to see a lot of. So that one really piqued my interest. So that's number 9 for me. Moving on to number 8, this is a book I've actually mentioned on the top 10 list before, and they are doing kind of a year 0 version of their book, and that is Burlap, and this is called The 90s Nightmare, so I'm also guessing this is going to be a period piece of some sort, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of horror, vigilante, 90s coolness, which I'm very excited for, but also just to kind of dig deeper into this character and look at the character from a different angle. So that is number 8 for me. Moving on to number 7, which is Fractured Shards, and this one's a cyberpunk book, and really what got me into this one, having cyberpunk be the main premise and having it be more of a mentally driven book, I thought was very interesting. But honestly, it's the artwork. The artwork really grabbed me. It looked really clean for this one and had some really good covers as well. So that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Samurai of Oz. So this is obviously a public domain property, which is Oz. So we have seen Oz properties before in Kickstarter, but not like this. We have samurais here. So we get to see our main character beat some people up, and that's always a lot of fun. And I like seeing a premise that we've seen before, like Oz, and obviously a story we've seen before, through a very different lens, and the action looked really good for this one, and just looked like a fun book. So that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is also another title I've definitely mentioned in my top 10 before, and love giving love to this book, and that is Lovecraft P.I. and Miskatonic High. I really enjoy this series, one of my favorite Kickstarters to talk about, and I love seeing crossovers within Kickstarter, seeing 2 different properties, 2 different Lovecraft properties, another theme, and franchise that we've seen dealt within Kickstarter, because it is a public domain, and seeing them cross over and do their thing, and seeing creators just work together, I think is always so nice, because that's what I love about Kickstarter, is the collaboration and just how open everyone is with each other. So I'm really excited to read part 2 of this book. So that's number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Ruination. And this is a magic book, and what caught my eye on this one was also the artwork. So my good friend Brant Fowler, he works on Last Ember Press. This was the artist who originally did Last Ember for him. So I already noticed the artwork. It's kind of cartoony and very storybook look to it, so I enjoyed that aspect. And also it has to do with soldiers, female soldiers. I never feel like this is a topic that's explored enough in media in general, so that's something that really caught my eye as well. And just the coloring really looked nice in this one as well. So moving into number 3, and this one's probably the most unique one I feel on the list, and that is Live Forever. And this has to do with exploring eternity. And this girl has lost her loved ones, and she decides, well, how about if I don't have to lose anyone anymore? And it kind of dives into this very existential story, but also from an art perspective, it also is more of a manga-driven story from the visuals. So I like that as well. So it just looked really different, and I love seeing different types of art forms explored. So that is number 3 for me. Moving on to number 2, which is Kamen America. Kamen America Volume 3. So obviously this is a title that has been on Kickstarter for a while, and I also love seeing books just grow and getting more volumes and seeing the story grow on a platform that I feel like doesn't have as many like issue 10s as it does issue 1s. So this also just looked like a fun anime style book, and it has the kind of I forget the title of that anime, but like Bunny, I forget the title of it, but there's like a superhero anime, kind of had a similar feel to that, and it also has to have a lead of a fashionista, so that's kind of cool, fashionista superhero, just bringing those 2 themes together, it brought me on board. The visuals looked really cool and bright, so that is my number 2 pick. Now moving into number 1, I feel like this was the obvious pick for the month, and that is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers collection. I love seeing the different publishers utilize Kickstarter to garner different and new fans, and to see probably their biggest property explored here with Power Rangers was really cool. So if you haven't read all Power Rangers, do yourself a favor. It's a really good series, so this is the opportunity to collect them in an exclusive collection, but then also just support Boom doing something different and trying to get to a different crowd and distribute comics differently. So I was really impressed with this one. Like I said, I'm a huge Power Rangers fan as well, so that made my number 1 pick. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her a Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. Thanks, guys. Bye.